At that time, Jesus called the people to him again and said to them, "Hear me, all of you, and understand. There is nothing outside a person that by going into him can defile him. But the things that come out of a person are what defile him." And when he had entered the house and left the people, his disciples asked him about the parable. And he said to them, "Then are you also without understanding? Do you not see that whatever goes into a person from outside cannot defile him, since it enters not his heart but his stomach and is expelled?" Thus Jesus declared all foods clean. And he said, "What comes out of a person is what defiles him. For from within, out of the heart of man, come evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, coveting, wickedness, deceit, sensuality, envy, slander, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within, and they defile a person." The Gospel of the Lord. Dear brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ, every culture comes with its taboos. Taboos about what to eat and what not to eat, what to wear, what not to wear. What are our perceptions of what is modest and what is not? And they are all helpful within a particular context. The Jews also had taboos about what is clean and unclean with regards to food. And Jesus in today's gospel passage shocks some of the Jews when he says that nothing from outside can defile a person, because he's changing their perception of what is clean and unclean. Because connected to these cultural taboos is the tendency to look down on other cultures that do not follow the cultural norms of that culture. In our own land, some people look down on others based on what they eat and what they do not eat. Laws are also sometimes framed in order to stigmatize certain kinds of foods. But today, Christ, as God Himself, makes a distinction between moral laws and cultural taboos. Jesus points out that what we do in relation to other human beings is what counts in the sight of God, not what we eat and what we do not eat. And how we relate to one another is determined to a large extent by the desires that we entertain inside our heart. And it is these desires that either make us pure or impure. It is these desires that make us clean or unclean. What are these desires? Very clearly, Jesus points out sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, coveting, wickedness, deceit, sensuality. These are external manifestations, or these are the internal desires that are externally manifested in all forms of immorality. We see in the first reading that Solomon is praised for all his wealth and wisdom by the Queen of Sheba. These were external manifestations of how God had guided Solomon thus far in ruling his kingdom. But if we read the story down the line, we will see how the desires that Solomon entertained in his heart gradually led to a deterioration of his own personal moral life, and further down the line, it leads to the ruin of his very kingdom. Wealth, prosperity, wisdom are gifts from the Lord, but unless we treasure God in our hearts, pure desires, and goodness, all these can be taken away from us if we are not careful. What is important for us is to maintain a pure heart before God. In this Holy Eucharist, let us present before the Lord any desires that we have that are not in accordance with God's will. And let us free ourselves from all these tendencies to look down on one another based on the differences in our cultures. Let us pray for this grace in this Holy Eucharist.